Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have it in. Get some more. Just get some more.
Hi, and welcome to a little clip of Distill America. Mike and I got a chance to go down there this past weekend and get in a little bit early and take some footage of some of the distillers. Now, not everyone was set up when we got in there, so we didn't want to hassle someone who was in the middle of doing work, because you know what, that's really not nice to do. But we did get a couple interviews with some people, and we thought we would bring you along for what it's like to walk through part of Distill America, get a little feel for it, and let you know that you should show up next year.
So Cobalt is run by Sonnet and Robert Bernecker. They like to experiment and do fun things with this distillery that they created 10 years ago. One of the things they've done is they've come up with single grain whiskeys, and they have a millet whiskey and an oat whiskey. They're really different, something new to bring to the market, something different for whiskey lovers to try. The oat is great for even like a summer drink. It's very light compared to a bourbon, and the millet has a little spice to it, a little fruitiness to it, and they're very delicious. So try them out when you get a chance.
Here with Chris from Hatch Distillery up in Egg Harbor, and as you can see, he has a pretty nice selection of stuff down here. Like we were just discussing, you sourced a couple things, but I know you're going to be releasing stuff later this year.
Yep, check back with us in December. We'll have a single malt whiskey that'll be a little over, close to 3 years old. And then we'll have a couple versions of bourbon, one that is distilled in an Irish style. It's got an unmalted grain form to it.
I'm Shane Fink from Old Elk Distillery. Today we're presenting a wide array of our products, but I'd like to talk about our flagship bourbon here. Made by Master Distiller Greg Metz, who was the head distiller at MGP for 16 years. When he retired, made this product, and this became our flagship. It has about 4 times as much malted barley as your typical bourbon at 34%. Also has 15% rye, so you get a little bit of that spice on the back end. And then the remaining 51%, of course, is corn. So it comes really mellow sweetness on the back end. Perfect as a sipper, perfect in old-fashioned or Manhattan or anything with sweet vermouth. Let's try it.
Singable. This is our flagship when we hang our hat on. It's made with 100% malted barley from Scotland. It's unpeated. It's called Golden Promise. Everything we make is actually in Scottish style production. Of course, a classic mash tun, Scottish style pot stills. They're actually the largest 4-size pot stills in the world at this point. This is a slightly overproof at 106. Very drinkable. We actually age it in American, French, and Hungarian oak. Really fantastic drink. Again, it's what we hang our hat on. At this point, it's also the most decorated craft whiskey in America with nearly 225 awards from New York to San Francisco. It's our favorite whiskey we produce. So it's definitely a good thing to drink.
This is our Cody Road rye. This is made from 95% rye, 5% malt, 80 proof. And what is really amazing about this rye whiskey is not only does it taste great and it's got an amazing bouquet on the nose, but it's actually made from all locally sourced grain as well. We have a small network of farmers that we work with, all within 25 miles of our distillery. And another thing that's really nice about our rye is that a lot of rye whiskeys tend to kind of bite your face off, and you kind of breathe fire afterwards. And as much as I love that, sometimes I just kind of want to keep drinking my rye whiskey and get all those lovely spice notes, get a little grassiness in there. And our rye accomplishes that without turning your mouth into a desert.
So our Bonbon Brandy it's actually coming out in 2 weeks. We sneak peeked it last night at the distillery, and we're sneak peeking it tonight. Basically, with the big difference between brandy and like American whiskeys is you can use used barrels instead of just new barrels. And so a lot of our products, we do 3 different grape brandies, and how we build them kind of is based off the barrel selection of how much new versus how much used wood. With the Bottled and Bond, we really wanted to make like a whiskey drinker's brandy, and so we selected a lot of new oak in there. It's really bold and aggressive, and the 100 proof kind of rounds out those flavors real nice. And so another reason we chose bottled in bond is in wine, the vintage is very important to kind of show the flavors of each season. And with bottled in bond, you kind of have that similar requirement. It has to be distilled all in one season. And so this batch, is all from one grape harvest. And every year, we'll basically do like an annual release of this, kind of selecting like the biggest, boldest barrels from each vintage.
It's my favorite product out of our entire lineup. The Distill America rye. It's 100% rye, partially malted, partially straight. It's going to have all the grains come from Wisconsin. It's got a little bit cleaner finish than a traditional rye. It's rounded on the end versus that sharp bitiness. It's like I said, it's a great product if you guys want to try it.
I think we can handle that.
Sure.
All right, this is my favorite whiskey. I'm usually a bourbon girl, but this is just what I think of when I think of a classic American whiskey. It's rough, it's rugged, but it still goes down smooth. It's great flavors to it. It's delicious.
Widow Jane has taken a rye mashed white dog, aged it into their used Widow Jane bourbon barrels, and as they're aging it, they add in, actually it's like a honeycomb stick, and they actually drill holes in it so that the whiskey fills through it, and they put them into the rye mashed white dog, and then age that in the bourbon barrels to give it the unique flavors. Actually cuts it a little bit, but it's still a real nice rye mash. Very, very easy to drink.
So cocktails with Somal is a little tricky because think of her like she's gentle and soft. So if you bring in like liqueurs that are neutral grain spirits or things that are designed to like kind of mask flavors, you're gonna lose it. So when I was thinking about this, it's like 3 ounces of Domelos, and then like a dash of maybe cranberry or a mint leaf or an expression of orange peel or something, or maybe even a sprig of rosemary, but like not a lot of flavor on top of it. Let this do the work. You'll be sad if you do anything else. Bottle yet, but it's batch number 2 of Somal of Royal Reserve. So it is 10 months old, so a little older than this one. This one's only 6 months old. But it comes in at 122, so we put it in at 120, but the temperature of the rick house was low, was like dry, so all the water evaporated, so we actually gained proof. So it's 122, and it's pretty awesome. So let me give you a cup here.
An Octopi Brewery IPA that we distilled and barreled for 3 years as of November 2017. It's going to have nice notes of grapefruit and oak from the barrel. We also have our 7-year aged first washer, so a nice cherry brandy aged in oak barrels for at least 7 years. So really good notes of cherry in there. That oak comes through really well. Coming in about 57%, so a little heavy proof on it. Is distillery in Wheeling, Illinois. It's not Chicago, but that's usually easier to just say it that way. He started off with just 3 products, 2 of which are on the table today. The Botanical Gin, the Solera Bourbon here, and then something that's 100% malted rye. But if you're just talking through the whiskeys here, basically the differences between these two, this one is a 5-grain bourbon, so with the addition, it's corn focus with wheat, rye, malted barley, and then some chocolate malts. It's a heavier toast on malts, basically. Think of it like coffee and add some of those complexities to it. This one goes into American oak, then French oak, and then Oloroso sherry casks. So Oloroso sherry casks add some kind of like dried fruit character to it. A little bit more floral notes on the aromatics too. This is a little bit older too, so the base here is around 3, the oldest is around 8. This is a little bit newer, the American Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is a little bit more classic style, it's higher proof, 50 proof on this one, just 4 grains, corn focus again, with wheat being secondary, rye, malted barley, all American oak. And then this is a blend, in essence, of around 60 to 65% of this, the rest being the Solera, but then it's rested in 12-year Islay Scotch casks. So that adds a little bit of salinity, a little bit more smoke to it. But in essence, you're drinking these 2 together, rested in another barrel for a while. He's been playing around with cask treatments. There's a rye that goes into a rum barrel too. We don't have that today, but he's been kind of experimenting with how all those things work.
And that was part of our little walk around Distill America. Now, if you want to see a little bit more of it, Scott from my bourbon journey, a little link up here, has a nice walkthrough of it before it got really busy. I didn't include anything of that this year, so actually that way you get to see a nice layout. He's got a nice little talk with Fred Swanson for a couple minutes, so check that out. And on Tuesday night this week, Ed is going to be having a little Distillery America review. Mike's going to be on it from our channel. I'm going to show up a little bit late, and I think Scott's going to be there early. So we're going to talk about that, what happened. And on Thursday, like we said before, we're going to have Jeff Schwartz, whiskey fellow, who's been going to it for quite a long time. He's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about his career and how he came into the love of whiskey and how he got a job with Bourbon and Banter and started having whiskey tasting classes when he started Whiskey Fellow. Really interesting, but he was also there too, so at the tail end of our live stream, we're going to be talking about it one more time just to kind of get another person's perspective, especially since he's been attending it for quite a lot longer than we have been. So, remember to join us on the 3-4 times this week. That's cool. We're happy to have you stop in and stop back. So remember, it's not the love of the whiskey that matters. Oops, wait. That's wrong. It's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of the whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have it in.